My family mocked me for being an artist, so I let them beg me to rent my art gallery. My brother stood in the middle of my gallery, shaking a stranger's hand, saying, "This place has real class." Not like my sister's little finger-painting phase. He didn't know the stranger was my assistant manager. He didn't know the woman standing 3 feet away, holding a clipboard, wearing all black, the gallery girl he'd been ignoring all afternoon, owned the building he was standing in. I'm going to back up because you need to understand exactly how long this family has been telling me my life doesn't count. My name's Marin. I'm 29. And for basically my entire adult life, my family has treated my art career like a phase I refused to grow out of, like I was 19, and finding myself, instead of 29 and running an actual business. I want to walk you through how we got from "you'll never make money doing that" to my brother standing in my own building, insulting me to my own employee without a clue. I need to get this off my chest, so bear with me. This is long, but it's worth it. Growing up, there were two kinds of achievements in my house: the kind my parents bragged about and the kind they tolerated. My older brother Derek was always the first kind. Student council, varsity, everything, business degree, then straight into commercial real estate, where he climbed fast. My parents introduced him at every family gathering like he was a press release. Derek just closed on the old mill property downtown. Derek's up for regional director. Derek, me. I loved drawing before I could spell my own name. By high school, I was staying up until 3 a.m. working on portfolio pieces. I got into a solid art program, and the day I told my parents, my dad actually laughed. Not a mean laugh, worse, and of course you did laugh, like I just confirmed something he already knew. "There's no money in that," he said. "You're smart. Don't waste it." My mom was gentler about it, but just as dismissive. "It's a lovely hobby, sweetheart." But hobbies don't pay rent. So I did what a lot of us do. I smiled, I nodded, and I kept doing it anyway, quietly, while pretending to consider real careers at every holiday dinner for the next decade. Here's the thing about being underestimated for 10 years straight. You either fold or you get very, very good at being invisible while you build something. I chose invisible. After college, I worked 3 jobs: barista, freelance illustrator, and weekend gallery assistant, while painting every night. That gallery job changed everything. The owner, an incredible woman named Odette, took me under her wing. She taught me the business side nobody talks about: how a gallery actually makes money, how commissions work, how to court collectors, how to run events that turn browsers into buyers. When Odette decided to retire 6 years ago, she didn't sell to some corporate buyer. She sold to me. I took every cent I'd saved, every terrifying loan I could get approved for, and I bought her gallery. I renamed it the Hollow Frame. I told my family I still worked at a gallery downtown. Not a lie, just incomplete. Why didn't I tell them the whole truth, honestly? Because some small, tired part of me knew that even owning a business wouldn't be enough. I'd pictured it 100 times. I imagined my dad finding some reason it didn't count. Is it even profitable? Are you sure you're not just losing money slower? I didn't want to hand them a new stick to hit me with, so I let them believe I was just gallery staff, some assistant, harmless, beneath conversation. Meanwhile, the Hollow Frame grew. We represented a dozen local artists. We got written up in a regional design magazine. We started hosting private events, engagement parties, product launches, the occasional wedding reception, because rental income kept the lights on between shows. I hired a manager, Theo, specifically because he's got the kind of easy, professional charm that makes rich clients feel important. Most people who came through those doors for events never even met me. I was the woman in the back office, or the one quietly rehanging a piece that had shifted. To strangers, I looked like staff. That was useful, actually. People say wild things in front of staff. I want you to hold on to that detail. It matters in about 10 minutes. Last spring, Derek got engaged to Camille, whose family is exactly the kind of old-money country club. Name-drop their lake house crowd my parents had been dreaming of marrying into since Derek was in diapers. Suddenly, every conversation was about making a good impression on the Whitfields. At Thanksgiving, my mother actually said out loud in front of everyone, "Marin, maybe don't mention the gallery thing to Camille's parents. They're very sophisticated. We don't want any confusion about what you do." Confusion about what I do, I laughed it off at the table. Inside, something clicked into place, not hurt exactly. Clarity, I realized I'd spent 10 years protecting them from a truth that would only ever embarrass them, never me. Derek, meanwhile, had one mission: find a wedding reception venue impressive enough to make the Whitfields believe he'd landed in the right family. He wanted understated wealth. He wanted the kind of place that doesn't need a sign out front because everyone who matters already knows it. He found the hollow frames listing on an events site. He had no idea it was mine. Why would he? The listing said Inquiries, Theo Marsh, Events Director. My name was nowhere on it. He booked a walkthrough for the following Saturday. I knew because Theo mentioned an R. Ashford inquiry, Camille's last name, and something in my gut went very still. I asked to see the file. Derek's name was right there under primary contact. I had a choice: cancel the walkthrough with some excuse, or let it happen. I let it happen. Saturday came. I told Theo the truth about who was walking through the door, and asked him to run the tour completely normally. No hints, no winks, nothing. I put on my black staff apron, grabbed a clipboard like I always do during walkthroughs, and made myself scarce near the east wall. Adjusting a piece, which in gallery speak means eavesdropping with a very good cover story. Derek walked in with Camille, her parents, and my mom and dad in tow, an entourage, like he needed backup to close the deal. He didn't even glance at me. Why would he? I was just the woman in black by the paintings. Theo gave the tour. My God, watching my own brother fawn over my gallery was an experience. This is exactly the vibe, Derek told the Whitfields, gesturing at the exposed brick, the soaring windows I'd fought the landlord for 2 years to install. Understated, classy. Not some strip mall banquet hall situation. Camille's mother nodded approvingly. Whoever curates this space has excellent taste. Oh, absolutely, Derek said. You can tell whoever runs this place actually knows art. Not like, and here's the line, the one I'll never forget as long as I live, not like my sister's little finger painting phase. She works somewhere like this, actually. Small potatoes compared to this place, but hey, it's cute that she tries. My mother actually laughed. A polite little society laugh. My father added, we keep hoping she'll go back to school for something with real prospects. Theo, bless him, didn't even flinch. He just said, smooth as anything, interesting. Well, let me introduce you to the owner. She's actually right over here. And he gestured at me. I want you to picture the silence. Not dramatic movie silence, real silence, the kind where you can hear someone's throat catch. Derek's face went through about 4 emotions in 2 seconds. Confusion, denial, dawning horror, and then this awful, plastic attempt at a smile. Wait, Camille's father said slowly, looking between us. This is your sister. Derek started. I'm Marin, I said, and I shook Mr. Whitfield's hand like I'd been doing it my whole life because I had. I own the hollow frame. Nice to finally meet you all properly. My mother's face had gone the color of the gallery's white walls. My father was suddenly extremely interested in a canvas he'd been actively ignoring for the last 20 minutes. You own this? Camille asked, and to her credit, she didn't sound rude, she sounded genuinely stunned, doing math in her head. Derek, you said your sister worked at a gallery. You didn't say she? I didn't know, Derek said, too fast, too loud. She never told me it was hers. You never asked, I said, calm, quiet. You've never once asked what my job actually was. You just assumed it was small enough not to matter. Here's where it gets good, Mr. Whitfield, Camille's father, a man who apparently made his money in commercial development, which is exactly Derek's industry, got very interested very fast. Turns out he'd been quietly trying to find a serious local partner for a mixed-use retail project he was breaking ground on, and had specifically wanted a gallery/event space anchor tenant with real curatorial credibility. His words, not mine. He'd been eyeing the hollow frame's reputation for months, without knowing his future son-in-law's sister ran it. Small world, he said to me, visibly recalculating his opinion of the whole family in real time. Then, to Derek, in a much cooler tone, you told me your family was well-connected in the art scene here. I didn't realize you meant this literally, and I especially didn't realize you'd insult it to my face 5 minutes before finding out. Derek tried to laugh it off. It was just a joke, obviously. It didn't sound like a joke, Camille said quietly. That was the moment I actually felt for her a little. She looked mortified, not on my behalf exactly, but because her fiancé had just revealed something about himself in front of her parents that she couldn't unhear. Here's the domino effect because it kept going, Mr. Whitfield had been quietly considering bringing Derek into that mixed-use project as the leasing lead, a career-making deal, the kind of thing that would have set Derek up for a decade. 2 weeks later, I heard through the family grapevine, Aka, my mother, calling to check in the world's most transparent damage control attempt, that Mr. Whitfield had gone with a different firm instead. No confrontation, no drama, just a polite, "We've decided to go a different direction," the kind of sentence that ends careers quietly. And the venue. Derek and Camille had already told half their guest list they'd booked an incredible private gallery downtown. After the walkthrough disaster, Derek asked Theo, not me notably. He couldn't even look at me if they could still book it for old time's sake. I said no. Not out of spite. Out of a very simple business principle. I don't rent my space to people who spent the last 10 years telling me my life's work was a phase. Then insulted it to a stranger's face, without knowing they were about to lose the room. They ended up scrambling for a venue 8 weeks before the wedding. Settling for a banquet hall Derek had specifically mocked in front of the Whitfields months earlier as not the vibe. My parents called me the week after the walkthrough. Not to apologize, to negotiate. Maybe you could reconsider the venue for Derek's sake, my mother said. It would mean a lot to the family. It would have meant a lot to me, I said, if either of you had ever asked one real question about my life in the last 10 years. You didn't come here to apologize. You came here because you need something from me again. My dad tried a different angle. We're proud of you, obviously. This is impressive. We didn't know. You didn't ask, I said. There's a difference between not knowing and not caring to find out. Nobody had an answer for that. I didn't go scorched earth. I still went to the wedding at the banquet hall, and I was polite to everyone, including Derek. But something had shifted permanently, not just in how they saw me, but in how much of myself I was willing to keep shrinking to make them comfortable. The Whitfields, for what it's worth, still come by the hollow frame. Mr. Whitfield ended up commissioning a piece from one of my represented artists for his office. Camille and I actually get lunch now and then. She was mortified enough by the whole thing that she went out of her way afterward to make it right. Which honestly meant more to me than anything my own parents said. Update 4 months later. Derek reached out a few weeks ago, cornered by, I assume, a marriage counselor's homework assignment or Camille's ultimatum, and gave me what I'll generously call a half apology. I probably could have handled that better, but you also could have just told me sooner. I told him I appreciated him reaching out, and that I hoped married life was treating him well. I did not agree that this was somehow my fault for keeping quiet about something he never once asked about in a decade. My parents still bring up the gallery misunderstanding, like it's a funny family story. Instead of the moment, their favoritism cost their golden child an actual career opportunity. I've stopped correcting them. Some people only learn the lesson they're willing to learn, and I've decided I'm done being the one who teaches it for free. The Hollow Frame just signed our first out-of-state represented artist last month. Small potatoes, I guess. It's cute that I try.